Thank you very much. It's great for me to be here because oftentimes when I speak at conferences or trade shows, I'm usually on an island by myself talking about retreading. And so it's so great to share the stage with somebody who's as passionate about retreading as we are and is spreading really positive information about our industry. So thank you very much. It was great. Because I knew Roberto was going to do such a great job about the environmental benefits of retreading, I was going to talk a little bit more about what TRIB does as an organization and also share with you a new video that we just launched today, which is helping to educate people about retreading. You know, we are an organization that is focused on promoting and defending the retread and repair industries. And when I talk about promoting, it's really about education. The biggest part of retread industry is about educating people about what's happening in the industry and the benefits of it. You know, it's one of the benefits of going last as a speaker is that I can connect with each of the previous speakers, and TRIB as an organization does have a connection to every one of the people that spoke here today and to many of you in this room. You know, years and years ago, before I was in the tire industry, I had a job at a huge multinational corporation, and my job was a best practices manager. And it was a great job because I could go anywhere in the organization, any division I wanted to, and I say, tell me about what you do. And then I would take that information, go outside the US, and transfer that and say, hey, this is something that we're doing in the US, it might work here, and then learn about what they were doing in their country and bring that back to the US. And it was all about sharing of information and educating the various divisions. And in many ways, that's what my job at TRIB is today. It is going out to our members, learning about what's happening in the retread industry, not only in the US, but all around the world, and then bringing that back and then sharing it with everybody as our members, but more importantly, the public and the fleets that are potentially purchasing retreaded tires. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we make sure that we have a really robust website. So if you go to retread.org, there's a ton of information about the retread industry, tackling some of the myths that we have, answering your questions. There's videos, there's materials you can order, and we make sure that that's a very strong place for people to go and get information. The other thing is being at shows like this, where I can talk to people at our booth, talk to you as an audience, and explain a little bit more about what's happening in the retread industry. For our members, we help facilitate commerce. So those of you that are retreaders or used tire dealers, if you're looking to find particular tires, you can come through us and say, I'm looking for this particular size casing, I can't find it anywhere. And we will reach out to our members and help them connect with you so that you can find the tires you need to be retreaded. Or if you have tires, casings that you're not using that you want to sell, we can help connect you to people who might be willing to buy those. There's a lot of myths, and I'll talk some more about that, about retreading. And you know, going back to the presentation about making a decision, a tire purchasing decision, all of those things that those consumers go through in their mind, each one of those points, I was thinking about it when you were talking about it, there is a negative perception for many people that's attached to each one of those things about retreading. And we are helping to try and turn those negative perceptions into the reality, which is very different from what most people perceive. And lastly, a very strong board of directors. So most of the major tire retread manufacturers, at least in the US, are members of our board of directors, massive retreaders, suppliers to the retread industry, repair companies, casing dealers. So we have a 16-strong board that really helps guide what we do as an organization and in the industry. So, you know, I talked about in that previous job going out to other countries. Well, that's one of the other things that we do is we collect that information that might be beneficial for our members and bring it back. So I was recently in Brazil at a meeting of many of the associations that Roberto listed up there, and collected a lot of information about what's happening in those countries, from their retreads, the plants that they have, the challenges that they're facing from both their governments and from their potential customers. and then bringing that back and sharing that information with all of our members. And so if you're looking if you have a difficult question that you're trying to answer and you haven't been able to find an answer to that, we're a good resource to come to, and we might be able to find that information for you. And just an example of some of the things that we learned in Latin America. Well, there's sort of 4 areas that we really focus on in terms of helping members and potential members and the public at large. The first one is the various newsletters that we produce. Every week we send out things. When I go out and visit members, we make sure we do a big profile educating people about what our members offer. I mentioned I was in Brazil. I spent some time with Vipal while I was down there. I was recently in Turkey and Germany. I was able to visit the brand new Continental Retreading and Recycling plant in Hanover, Germany, which was a great educational experience, and again, being able to share that with everybody. Every Tuesday we produce a newsletter that talks about a very specific technical issue that you might be facing in your business, either as a tire repair technician or a retreading group. And it might help you operate in your daily business. And lastly is just a general newsletter that covers some of the aspects of what's happening in the industry that it's important for our members to know. So we do have a lot of members all over the world. We send about 26 or almost 22 emails per month. And over the course of the year, that means we send almost about 4 million emails out to our members, whether that's educating them or providing commercial opportunities. I mentioned before, I would encourage you to go to our website. Again, there's a wealth of information there for you. I'm not going to demo that here. Specifically for our members, I talked about the casing and supplier memos. If you're looking for equipment as well, we can help with that, help connect you to somebody who can meet your needs. The newsletters that we've talked about, and we have a whole section of training and reference materials on our website, including many of the Tire Industry Association training documents, radial tire conditions guide, industry recommended practices for tire retreading and tire repair, and our members get very significant discounts on the purchase of any of those materials, which might be helpful for your businesses. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about, on our website we have a video section, and earlier this year we completed the environmental benefits of retreading, and that talks about many of the things that Heriberto was talking about in terms of the positive environmental benefits of retreading. And at the very beginning I talked about how we promote retreading. The other big part of it is defending it, and I'll talk specifically from a US perspective, but many times we see state legislators come in, newly elected, and they might have a constituent come into their office and say, you know what, I see all this rubber on the side of the roads, and I know that's retreaded tires, and we need to legislate against retreaded tires. Actually, you know what, we need to ban retreads completely. And so we work with them, sometimes the individual that started that, there's petitions that we deal with, or we work with the politicians to help educate them. And we show them the environmental benefits of retreading, many of those same things that we talked about earlier. And then the new video that I'm going to show you today, which we just launched this morning, is dealing with one of the massive myths of retreading, is exactly that, rubber on the road and its true causes. And so, you know, going back to this theme about education, once you have a conversation with an individual and they see all the facts about retreading, the economic savings, the environmental impact it has to our environment, and the fact that all of those factors in this decision process, whether it's safety, reliability, performance, you're going to find all of those same things in a retreaded tire. So why don't we take a look at the video. It's about 9 minutes long, and then I'm basically done. But talk on that.
Ever since the first automobile rolled off the assembly line, Americans have loved the road trip. Ah, the open road. History and adventure around every turn. The scenery, the purple mountains' majesty, and, unfortunately, rubber on the road. Debris from tires everywhere.
It's an eyesore. It's dangerous.
It's everywhere.
Besides the rising cost of gasoline, one of American motorists' biggest gripes is debris on the highway, also known as rubber on the road. People are talking about safety.
All of a sudden, I had swerved to avoid this big chunk of rubber in the road. I almost hit into the barrier.
This big chunk of rubber just flew up, hit my windshield.
People are talking about danger to the environment.
More trash for the landfills? Like we need more landfills.
Mostly, people are talking about what they think is the #1 culprit. And you guessed it.
Retreads.
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 Well, talk is one thing. Getting the facts straight about rubber on the road is another. So what are the facts about rubber on the road? #1, and this might surprise everyone, that's right. Retreads are not the primary cause of rubber on the road.
I know what I know. Retreads are cheap alternatives. They're just not safe.
Fact? The truth is, that commonly held belief is purely fiction. And the reason for that is fact #2. That's right. Study after study reveal that the #1 cause of road debris is excessive heat. In other words, both new and retreaded tires fail for the same reason. And the reason we know that is because of a series of comprehensive studies that were conducted to determine the effects of rubber on the road and what causes it. Studies like the one commissioned by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Here's how it worked. First, thousands of pounds of tire fragments were collected from various parts of the country. Tire debris was gathered from a range of landscapes, such as interstates and other flat roadways where motorists travel at higher speeds. Samples were also collected from areas with rolling hills, where brakes are frequently applied, as well as from a variety of climate zones to determine the effects of temperature on tire wear. Then the experts were called in. Like forensic investigators at a crime scene, samples were methodically inspected, evaluated, analyzed, and reanalyzed. Their findings revealed what might surprise the skeptics, and that is, the results indicate the majority of tire debris collected was not a result of manufacturing or deficiencies in the retread process. Once again, new tires can fail just as easily as retreaded tires. The main offender? Excessive heat, caused by tires that are operating underinflated, overloaded, or running at excessive speeds. Here's what happens. When underinflated or overloaded tires are driven too long, too far, or too fast, the excessive heat generated by the additional flexing causes the internal components of the tire to break down. But excessive heat is just one of the reasons cited for tire failure. Studies revealed a long list of possible causes, including maintenance issues like excessive wear, improper tire repair, and damage during the mounting-demounting process. But that's not all. Road hazards, punctures, running into objects such as curbs and potholes were all cited as possible causes of tires falling apart. Once again, the results of the study indicate the majority of tire debris collected was not a result of manufacturing or deficiencies in the retread process. It seems like retreads are always getting a bad rap for one reason or another.
I know what I know, and retreads are just cheap alternatives. They're just not safe.
There's that safety issue again. Fact is, that's just not true. The truth is, retreaded tires perform just as well as new tires. Retreads can also be driven at the same speed as new tires and deliver similar mileage. Retreads are used safely every day on school buses, fire engines and ambulances, trucking fleets, taxis, and government and military vehicles. All commercial airlines, as well as military jet aircraft, use retreaded tires. In fact, nearly 80% of all aircraft tires now in service in the United States are retreads. Retreads save money, too. A retreaded tire costs less to produce than a new tire and sells for less, usually between 30 and 50% less. By using retreaded tires, commercial trucking fleets, airlines, and state and local governments are saving millions of dollars per year. That's the great news when it comes to the cost of living. But there's even better news. Yes, retreaded tires are environmentally friendly. Medium truck tires require approximately 22 gallons of oil to process. It takes only 7 gallons to retread. Retreads save hundreds of millions of gallons of oil every year and other raw materials, such as natural rubber, steel, and carbon black. Retreading tires also has the potential to make a substantial contribution to reducing carbon emissions. The retreading process generates over 70% less emissions than production of a new tire. Instead of ending up in landfills, used tires that have been retreaded can continue their useful lives for thousands of more miles. And finally, retreading is not only saving millions of scrap tires from disposal each year, but almost 100% of the waste from the process can be reused to create useful products.
I get the picture. I was wrong about retreads. But we're still dealing with all that rubber on the highway, right?
Right. Which brings us to fact 6. The question now is, how? The answer is, it's going to take an effort from everyone that owns or drives an automobile or truck. Basic tire maintenance is the key. Number 1, maintain the tire manufacturer's recommended tire pressure for the load. Regularly check it with a properly calibrated gauge. And now, thanks to modern technology, inflation issues may eventually be a thing of the past, with the introduction of breakthroughs such as tire pressure monitoring and automated inflation systems. Inspecting tires on a regular basis is another key to safety maintenance. Look for and remove any foreign objects or debris like stones, pieces of glass, or metal that might have become wedged between the tread blocks. Look for uneven or irregular tread wear, shallow tread, damaged areas, cracks, splits, punctures, and holes. Make sure wheels are properly aligned. Passenger car drivers should rotate and balance their tires regularly. Most manufacturers recommend every 6,000 to 8,000 miles. Finally, make sure to replace tires when the wear bars and the grooves are worn even with the tread blocks on either side.
So what you're saying is if everyone does his or her own part, there's no more rubber on the road, right?
No, but it's a goal worth working toward. And just think how much safer everyone will be, regardless of whether they're driving on retreads or not. Ah, the open road. History and adventure around every turn. The scenery, the purple mountains' majesty, and maybe someday, a lot less rubber on the road. We can all do it, and that's a fact.
So thank you very much, and thank you also to Tia. You can see that they worked with us on this video, and it was with a great teamwork and support to help continue to get positive information out about retreading. If anybody has any questions, wants to learn more about it, we're here at a booth the rest of this week. Come by and see us, or drop us an email, info@retread.org. I'll be happy to help in any way that we can. So again, thank you very much for your time.